is up, Draftaholics? How you doing? Thanks so much for being here. We are on to Week 5. Remember, the Draftaholics, we are always evaluating the NFL, teams, and players in the context of a real fantasy team. The rest, as they say, is just pretend. I am your host, Matt Savoca, at Draftaholic, and from the fantasy porthole...
Whoa.
Hello, my name is George Sloten, at George Sloten on Twitter.
What is this copy?
You're committing to
that.
that.
Submarine or something? What?
I don't know. I have never introduced myself in any other accent, and I'm 0-4 in our League of Champions.
So just change it up.
We got to change it up.
Yeah, I like it.
All right.
So I'm going to be like this the whole episode.
Oh, really? Are you? Okay. Good luck with that.
And who else is across from me here?
I'm William Spinato at W Spinato on Twitter. 2 N's and 1 T.
What's up, guys? Glad to have you with us here today. And we are on to the Week 5 Thursday night matchup between the Colts and the Super Bowl runner-up Patriots, who are favored by 10 points in this game. Part of that has to do with Andrew Luck and his healing shoulder, his beat-up wide receiver core, likely without T.Y. Hilton this week. And the Patriots are getting back Julian Edelman, veteran wide receiver, while Rob Gronkowski looking like a very questionable play at best with an ankle injury. So before we get into that and our specific matchup to watch for Thursday night, I want to talk about a quick question of the week that I came up with, and we were talking about it off air a little bit. You were taken to London, and you got to see an NFL game in London, which not many people on earth can say that they've done yet. But it got me thinking about NFL stadium experiences. What stadium, if you guys have not visited them, would you like to see? And I'll open it up. I know I didn't say this earlier, but if you want to change your answer, I'll allow it. To stadiums that no longer exist. Like if William wanted to see Johnny Unitas in Yankee Stadium, the original, I would supposedly allow it. William, why don't you start us off with not saying Yankee Stadium?
Sure.
Yankee Stadium.
There are 2 stadiums that kind of pop into my head. I would be really interested to see a game actually in Arrowhead. I feel like that's an environment that I'd like to be a part of once in my life. I have some friends who are some Chiefs fans, and I think it would be fun to go to the game with them as well. I like also the Vikings new stadium. Just seeing like photos and some on I think there was a night game last year that they kind of showed some of the new features of this stadium. It seems like a pretty amazing, top of the line, like state of the art facility that I'd love to see. George, I'm interested to hear about which NFL players' beds you're interested in checking out for their sleeping situation.
With the sleep number?
I don't know.
Bed,
he keeps mentioning
back and forth.
He keeps mentioning players at home sleeping better in their home bed. So I figure that's what he's going to talk about here in this stadium pick. George, what's the stadium you want to see?
Yeah, the Sleep Number Stadium in Sarasota, Florida.
Oh, really? There's one of those?
No.
Is that the Canadian Football League or something, or the Arena League?
What is going on?
There is not, William. There's no Sleep Number Stadium.
Okay, gotcha.
But there is a Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, and I really don't mean this as a homer. I really, really don't. This is the state-of-the-art stadium. It can hold up to 83,000 people. If you see the opening roof, it can. First of all, it's a retractable roof that opens like a camera lens, this.
It's amazing.
It's so crazy.
It's amazing.
Everybody will see it live in living color for the Super Bowl this coming year, as well as the Final Four in 2020. Probably my favorite thing about the stadium, owned by Arthur Blank, I believe, is that of the Falcons owner and Home Depot. The cost of drinks and food in the stadium are extremely cheap.
That is cool. Yeah, I heard about that.
They keep the prices a la the Masters, where like sandwiches are $2, $3, a Coke is $2. All around the stadium are refillable stations for your drinks. So you buy a cup once, it's refillable the whole time.
Yeah. It's
very, very cheap. They give a lot of spots of the concessions to local vendors for you to have a taste of Atlanta, which is really, really cool. And not to mention, it's a beautiful stadium with everything state-of-the-art. So I'm excited to visit it. I'm planning a trip down there soon. Hopefully this football season, and maybe we can see the Falcons play there in the Super Bowl if they, win 10 in a row.
I like it.
Oh, yeah, it could happen. You'll see in our Friday episode that we actually talk about the Falcons in our quick question there and about their future. But that Atlanta stadium, especially that roof, holy cow.
Looks really cool.
So I think that my cheating answer that I won't actually give is I cannot say how excited I am for the prospect of the NFL in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, I will say that the stadium and the game experience that I would most like to see is the Raiders in playoff contention in Oakland this season. So we're not sure it's going to happen. It's got one more shot of happening. They had a overtime win against a resurgent Browns team.
High-scoring game.
Yeah, a big high-scoring game, but they pulled out the W, and it would be a very cool final year experience. I certainly expect this to be Marshawn Lynch's final season. I don't expect him to move on to Vegas. And I recently flew out of San Francisco and caught a beautiful view of the Oakland Raiders stadium.
Oh, wow.
It's very cool. They have the logo painted into the upper deck, so as you see it from an aerial view, you see the Raiders logo. I'm really going to miss that stadium. Oakland, a beautiful town, and it really needs a football team very soon once they move. It just simply does.
Bringing the Spider 2 White Banana to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Isn't that the stadium that has the baseball diamond in it?
It is still one of those
Oakland,
stadiums.
I've always felt that was weird.
It isn't the best for player safety, and that is such a big emphasis. I'm all for them improving that. But there was a time where stadiums, especially baseball, talking to you, George, speaking your language, where the intricacies and the idiosyncrasies of a stadium were actually the part that was most exciting about a stadium. Not anymore. It's all about safety, and I couldn't agree more. So we are moving on to that Thursday night matchup to watch. As I said, it's the Colts and it's the Patriots. The Patriots heavily favored. A 53 over under 31.5 implied points for the Patriots after the shellacking of the division leading Miami Dolphins. Patriots still a game back. William, this is your matchup to watch. The thing that you love as a fantasy analyst, as a fan, the thing that you want to see as you get a little bit deeper and you research this one game. What did you see that really stood out?
Well, I'm interested in seeing what happens if the Patriots are without Gronk this week. You know, I'd always take an opportunity to mention my boy Cordero Patterson on this podcast. I knew you were going to shake your head when I said it, but there are some ancillary options in New England. They always kind of figure out how to get it done. I don't think it's going to be it's going to be tough sledding against the Colts, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do let Gronk rest if he is a little banged up on this short week coming in on Thursday. So I'd be interested to see whether Phil Dorsett gets those red zone and touchdown targets again, or if it goes in a little more interesting path towards Cordero Patterson or someone else. James White also catching a bunch of balls like a wide receiver, especially in the red zone.
Back from suspension.
Yeah, exactly. So it's possible that we just see an entirely different offense. You know, it might not be the end of the world that they're without Gronk. I feel like the Patriots are getting back on a better path, and you're right, Matt. They probably are the under 500 team with the best shot to make the playoffs. I just gave away a little bit of what's happening later, but sorry. Wow. Yeah, but I would like to see how they perform without Gronk, and I think they're not going to really have a hard time against the Colts here on Thursday night. Right. Matt, what's your matchup to watch?
For me, it's the injury that I'm actually most concerned about in this game is T.Y. Hilton. He is really the lifeblood of that wide receiver core and really the main security blanket for Andrew Luck. I know that there has been a resurgence of the tight end targets, even with Jack Doyle missing time with a hip injury. Eric Ebron, Zach Pascal, fantasy relevant in week 4. But T.Y.
Nyheim Hines?
Yeah. So those short area targets, obviously something that Andrew Luck and co. are focusing on.
Right.
But without the ability to stretch the defense in the way that T.Y. Hilton does, simply by being on the field, I don't know how well this Frank Reich offense is going to be able to operate. Obviously, Vegas agrees with the difficulties there. I'm kind of excited as an Andrew Luck season-long owner in many places. If this is the game where his variance, where he had a good week 4 and a very poor week 2 and 3, if it stays up, I wonder if we see all sorts of Andrew Luck is back narratives, just 2 weeks after we were like, is the sky falling in Indianapolis?
Right.
So this is one of those games where I really can test. It's a barometer game for where that shoulder is, where that offensive mind is between Reich and Luck. I really think they're going to have a problem if I was a betting man on it, but as a fan, I would love to see them overcome that adversity. George, what's your matchup here?
I'm taking a matchup that's off the field, and thank goodness the Patriots are really, really secretive about everything they do, because if for some reason the Patriots' hotel information is released to the public, Josh McDaniel needs to have security guards at his door, because what he did to the city of Indianapolis this offseason
yeah.
was crazy. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Guys, he goes from the Super Bowl with the Patriots, losing. He was in talks to become the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. He had been speaking with the Colts GM, Chris Ballard, for a very long time about this, and it was a done deal, to the point where Chris Ballard told ESPN that that Josh McDaniels had a suit picked out, and for lack of intents and purposes, he probably had a Sleep Number bed already purchased for him. It was a really difficult time.
Sponsored by these guys.
I know we are. I'm not, but I want to be. It was a really difficult time for Indianapolis. Their linebacker Edwin Jackson died in that Uber accident with his Uber driver. It was a really rough time for Indianapolis, and this was a kick to the shin when they were already down. I would love to see Indianapolis stick it to Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for the Patriots, with a win. I'm not expecting it, but this is going to be Josh McDaniels versus the city of Indianapolis.
All right.
Yeah. Wow. You almost forget about that narrative, which dominated the early offseason in the NFL. Feels like it was years ago. It was only a few months ago where Josh McDaniels... I gotta say, it's just totally an unprofessional move.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
One where he just simply does not care about his future beyond his coaching in New England. And, you're allowed to make that choice as a professional, but it affects your future. It just does.
And the other people around you. Yeah.
He had people who were leaving their previous and current jobs to come to that Indianapolis staff, and then the bottom came out from under them. That's just not fair at all. Great matchup to watch there. So, before we get you out of here for our quick Week 5 Thursday mini episode, we always have the 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
That's where we break down the Roto World news and notes, as I'm sure you do every week. We should mention we are recording a little bit early this week.
Yeah, Monday
night prior to the Monday Night Football game. So if there are major news and notes that we're not saying from Monday Night Football, it's not because we don't know about them and don't care. It's because they haven't happened yet. Hopefully nothing on the injury front, and it's just another fantasy bonanza for the Chiefs offense, and maybe Denver gets involved too. But here we go, 2-minute drill. Marquise Goodwin hauled in 2 of 4 targets before leaving with an injury. It looked like he is going to miss even more time.
Yeah.
Who steps up? Is it just Kittle?
I think it's the Kittle show, yeah.
Yeah. George?
Frida?
Yeah,
we didn't see an uptick in the receptions for Breida last week. I don't know. You can't really bank on that yet. For now, it's Kittle.
Adrian Peterson still not practicing. Does he play on Monday Night Football?
Because he's got the longer week, it's possible.
Okay. But Jonathan Stewart, he's going to IR. He could return this season, Pat Shurmur says. Does this change Saquon Barkley's usage, or is it just kind of more of the same?
I think it's more of the same.
All right. Ed Dixon, with Will Dissly's tough injury probably costing him the season, they believe Ed Dixon will return Week 8. In the meantime, is Nick Vannett a player we think about?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, he's the only option. He's definitely someone we think about. I don't feel amazing about it, but what other tight end do you feel amazing about besides the top 4?
I don't think I'm using a waiver wire priority on him or spending any fat. No. If he's $0, maybe I'd choose him at the end of the bench. Chris Carson will return Week 5, but it sounds like, according to Pete Carroll, coach of the Seahawks, we have a full-blown RBBC with first-round pick Rashad Penny, Chris Carson, the late-round pick from just a year ago, and now Mike Davis, I also believe was a toss-away from the 49ers organization, and now he had a large amount of touches in Week 4. This is a mess. And they're not even a great offensive line. I'm moving on. It's bad in Seattle. Avoid.
Yeah, why even spend a first-round draft pick?
Is Rob Gronkowski playing this week? Yes or no?
No.
Yeah, I think it would be smart of the Patriots to not play him, actually.
Is Will Fuller playing this week against the Cowboys on Sunday night?
QT.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess
that on Friday.
Yeah, we'll see. But I think there's a possibility that he sits.
Lamar Miller is a little banged up, according to Bill O'Brien. Do you think we see more Alfred Blue, or do you think this is just more of them making sure that they have a bell cow rested and ready to go for Sunday night?
For Lamar Miller's sake, I hope it's that he's more rested. Yeah, and I guess we will see more of Blue in his absence.
Yeah, George.
Lamar barely played this week, so maybe he pulled a Leonard Fournette and said, I really wasn't feeling well. Let me just take a couple of snaps extra off. And I hope he's well rested for next week.
All right. Le'Veon Bell, it appears that he's going to be reporting to the Steelers. Week 7 is now the estimate that he arrives. They're still listening to trade talks. I'm just going to keep asking you every week, what do you feel like the most likely outcome, highest percentage probability? What happens, William?
In terms of a timeshare, you mean? Or in terms of...
does he come back to the Steelers? Does he get traded? Is it a timeshare? If he comes back, what do you think happens?
Man, I mean, James Conner has been playing well. They've obviously been trusting him with the entire workload that Bell had before. It's such a crapshoot when he comes back. You know, they could totally say, you didn't want to get used, you didn't want to get burned to the ground, so fine, we won't use you. We won't put you in high... In situations
Quality
where we would have depended on you.
As we go into our 2-minute draw, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Biggest percentage would be that they actually run Le'Veon to the ground, save James Conner, make sure he doesn't get hurt because he's the future back of the organization, and Le'Veon has a really killer attempt.
All right. Yeah, I would like to see it that way too, actually, to be honest.
I kind of was hedging my bets here because I really cannot decide between... It's really a 50-50 chance at this point. I think... If I had to guess, it's a running back by committee when he comes back and they just say, you know what, we don't want to give you the touches we thought we were going to give you.
Yeah. Or they trade him. I mean, what do you think the likelihood is of that, Matt? Give us a percentage.
Still higher than 50%. I think it's a 60% chance that he gets it done.
Sure. So, can't wait to see.
Yeah, that was our 2-minute drill. This Le'Veon thing is crazy. Still, we're on Le'Veon watch. The Seattle RBBC situation to completely avoid. That is our Thursday mini episode. We are excited for the Colts and the Patriots. I think there are a lot of great narratives. I think this game is going to be closer than Vegas thinks right now. But, yeah. You're like, no, it could be even further away than that 10
Yeah, I
points.
think it's going to look a little bit like Miami last week, to be honest.
Yeah. They basically sent Ryan Tannehill to the sunken place.
Right.
All right, folks. We will be back at the end of this week with our full main slate episode. So, with that said, I am your host at Draftaholic. Matt Savoca is my name. In the fantasy porthole, with a Cockney accent or not, who we got?
Oi, George Sloten, at George Sloten on Twitter.
Wow. You totally dropped the accent midway through this podcast, but you finished strong with it. And I'm William Spinato, at W Spinato on Twitter, with 2 N's and 1 T.
All right. Well, thanks so much for checking us out. Again, we'll be back at the end of the week. Full Week 5 game slate. It's an awesome, awesome week. Remember, at the Draftaholics, you're only as good
as your last pick. See ya.
Bye, guys.